In the US, for example, everything's on credit and everything's on debt. Oh, you want to get a house? Okay, perfect. Get a mortgage. Mortgage is a loan. Oh, you want to get a car? Perfect. Here's a car payment. They sell iPhones on payment plans. Everything's on a payment plan. That's all debt. It's all propped up by something that's not real. What's a 30-year mortgage? Imagine getting a 30-year mortgage at the age of 60. What are you going to pay it off when you're 90? It's not real. It's bullshit. In the 40s and the 50s, when people were working at factories before the dollar was hijacked by the Federal Reserve and removed off of the gold standard, you would work 2, 3, 4, 5 years in a factory, make your $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a year, and in 2 years you would buy a house. You would buy a car. You wouldn't have to work 10 years in order to afford a place to live. And that all comes down to the fact that the money printers are the way to steal from people through inflation and through the debasement of currency, which is why what we're seeing nowadays. Like I said, unless you understand monetary policy, unless you understand that finance is the new language of the elite, just like back in the day, Latin used to be the language that the church would utilize to control the peasants. Instead of teaching the peasants Latin, or in this case, the peasants nowadays finance, you would have the Pope or you would have the minister be the one that was the middleman between you and God. And that's why when you look at the US dollar, it says, "In God we trust." It's really funny because you're not trusting in your own ability to decipher what's taking place. You're going off of a middleman. If you look at the tax code, 4, 5, 6,000 pages long, who has time to read that? Who has time to actually understand what's taking place or if what we're being taxed is legitimate or fair or constitutional or even legal? They don't. So people nowadays are really much trusting off of big organizations, and anything that has an acronym as an organization, whether it starts with an F or whether it starts with a C, all these crazy ones that I'm not going to say just in case we end up being in a bad situation, you need to be very skeptical because you don't know who's behind it. And these centralized sources of authority, whether they start off legitimate, which they truly could, can end up being in a situation that they can get hijacked and compromised. Just like these big social media platforms, they get hijacked from the inside. If you look at Pavel's interview with Tucker Carlson the other day, he talks about how a big government agency, I think it was the FBI, when he went to set up his headquarters in San Francisco, they approached one of his developers to, inside of the Telegram code, to put backdoors so that they could get spied on. But this all happened on different social media platforms. So imagine you have all these backdoors already set up. Ahead of time, you hijack developers, insert ghost code, and start managing mass surveillance at a level that hasn't been seen before. Pretty much introduced in the United States in 2001 after 9/11. It's called the Patriot Act. And it's really such a funny name because they always make it sound super epic, but it's basically a massive surveillance program to control populations. It's very scary. So going back to your initial question, is there any big influencers or influential people at a political scale that I would trust? The answer is no. Because if you're playing in the swamp and you're playing the dirty game, it's going to be hard.